Hiya, this is my presentation for project management for games design, level 4, Staffs Uni 2024. Anything you want to know, there you go. So I picked game design for my project. It's a third-person shooter called Corsair. I am talking way too much for this first title screen. Let's get right into it. If PowerPoint wants to work. There we go. Okay, so project overview. What exactly is Corsair? Corsair is a third-person shooter. This project is meant to be a sort of a showcase, a slice, of what the game could be with an engaging and playable level and a consistent visual style using handmade assets. That's taken right from my deliverable. It also takes place in a preconceived setting to make the world more convincing. For context, I've been working on a personal creative project for the past few years. So there's your context for why stuff looks like that. So, Corsair's story. You play as an alien pirate known as an Arinskan Corsair, infiltrating an abandoned United Colonies Hegemony, or UCH, colony. The colony's automated systems are still functioning, roaming the derelict corridors despite the human colonists' absence. So basically, all the colonists are dead, this place has been abandoned, but the security systems are still working. The security systems being robots with big guns. So, the level design, as mentioned previously, is inspired by similar games like Gears of War. Forgot to edit that, but yeah, it's inspired by Gears of War, other third-person shooters. Gears, in particular, influencing the level design. So, yeah. Corsair's level, yeah. So, I researched how they designed their levels and found they used an hourglass structure consisting of open areas called combat bowls, linked by corridors. So these basically big open areas, lots of enemies, lots of ways to go about the thing. So the thing about this is it keeps the variety in gameplay and difficulty. So the corridors are a lot less intense, which means you can introduce different game mechanics and stuff. And then once the player gets bored, you throw them into a combat bowl and they're back into it. So the level design continued. I kept the structure in mind when designing my levels, but because of the indoor setting, the smaller level scope, because we have to make a certain length, I shrunk the combat bowls down slightly. I also put in smaller rooms in between as the corridors could get very cramped. This is because third-person shooters usually hide the character, and I'm not too sure how to do that. So the other alternatives make the corridors bigger, so you don't walk into the walls as much. The main goal I had for this project was to make a game with 100% handmade models, because I'm a tryhard. No, take that back. But I've never really been about main reason is I've never really been a big fan of asset packs. They rarely got all the stuff I need. They also have licensing issues, paywalls, and also I just want to do it myself. Ultimately, I'm a game artist first, so again, using assets that aren't technically mine doesn't feel right to me, and making all my own stuff is going to get me a better grade as well, and I'm willing to do it. It gives me something to do. On top of that, this art style, I've already done it before. I did it in college, as you can see here, using a program called Blockbench. I've just realised I don't have to read this off word for word. If you want to pause and read all this, go ahead. So, the assets. Preconceived setting, so the designs are already there. The concept art for the combat drone was done in December because when I was working on my personal creative stuff, I wanted to design the combat drone again. There's been designs for the past few years. There was one in September 22 that was being used for quite a while. Anyways, so preconceived stuff makes it quicker for me to just design stuff. The cutter drone is 100% original from this module though, because I needed a melee enemy, and I think he looks pretty cool and he fits in quite well. Blender in that word thing, the eyes on the combat drone look white, but they're actually pink. It's just that was a material view. The cutter is in solid with the textures on. So the animation takes forever. I don't have forever, pretty much. So lots of snappy interpolation, lots of this, lots of that. So this thankfully works for this style of game, simply because, well, it looks like this. It looks all right, pretty much. You wouldn't do this for photorealism because it would look really uncanny, but this is all right. So the legs aren't moving in this GIF. That's because the animation blueprint, separates the legs at the waist, which I think is really cool because you can look up and you're looking up with your waist like an actual third person shooter. It's really cool. But It also means I don't have to remake the walk animation over and over, which is nice. So actions like shooting and reloading and abilities use anim montages instead of using the anim graph, because I tried to use it with the anim graph and it was really buggy. So yeah, using anim montages now. So rendering. Corsair uses a post-processing engine, to improve the visuals in the engine. Post-processing material pixelates everything alongside some color banding. Basically gives it a nice like retro look, I guess. It also helps to hide any imperfections, but again, because of the retro look, it wouldn't really be that bad if there were some small imperfections. I'm just a bit of a perfectionist. So the development process, pause, have a read. Not going to go through all this because I don't have... Yeah, I've got 15 minutes max, so I don't want to hit that limit too soon. So, there. So, first playtest. Was this aim met? Game is presented with consistent visual style using self-made assets. I'd like to think it is. All the stuff is done by hand. The only assets I took from elsewhere were sounds. So that was from GDC sound packs, freesound.org, text-to-speech.org for the robot voices, and I think there might have been one or two sources on top of that. Don't quote me on that. I think it is just... Yeah, it's just freesound, GDC, and text-to-speech. So the other one was the font. It's from Dafont. It's VHS Mono or something like that. Same one as Ultra Kill. Anyways, so I'd like to say that aim was met. The playable level, I think this is made... I've met this goal because, well, there's a level, you can play it. So, counts, I guess. As you can see, first playtest, last playtest, there is a massive difference in content and quality. So, quantity, whatever. So, roster designs and the consequences. Sorry, this was problem-solving approaches. I'm talking way too fast right now. When first making the player model, I'd forgotten to sort of keep the player's abilities in mind. I kind of just went with the flow a little bit, and it kind of led to this. I wasn't too sure on what to do for the abilities at the time, which definitely didn't help. So I'm just going to have a quick drink of water. That's better. Right. I'm a bit hoarse there. So, this character doesn't really look like it does anything notable at all, let's be real. Nothing's going to imply it can punch things or launch itself forward or even withstand a few shots. So, we've got game affordance, character design, the Concord effect. You can have a pause, have a go, read it if you want. Basic rundown is, you kind of want to make it look like it does the thing it does. So, for example, with Overwatch, you got Pharaoh's character design. These two characters do the exact same thing. But if I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't have guessed. Right? Apart from the fact they both got rocket launchers, you kind of can infer because they're right next to each other. Pharaoh's, these are both characters that fly. Both have rocket launchers. That's their sort of gist, right? Pharaoh's character is sort of bird-themed armor. They obviously got the rocket launcher, whereas with Concord, you got this character. They don't even have a jetpack. The only thing that's implying that they fly is their helmet vaguely looks like a pilot helmet, but very vaguely. So, Concord effect, guys. You adds some affordance to your character designs, pretty much. So, improved player model. When redesigning the player's model, I wanted the affordance to be better. I wanted it to be more readable, so you could tell that this guy is powerful. You can tell this guy is a one-man army going through this place. So, took inspiration from the power armor from Fallout, especially the XO1, because I think it looks really cool. And then gave it a massive fist. I think I've said in my forum post, it kind of looks like Hellboy with the massive fist. It's the wrong arm, but it looks cool. I'm going way too slow for this. Oh my god. So, YouTube tutorials, shooting yourself in the foot, have a read through this. We got like 5 minutes. Basically, I followed YouTube tutorials, and it turns out they kind of forgot a few things, and then my thing kind of didn't work. So, reserve ammo didn't work, so now we have infinite ammo, because I couldn't get it to work, because the most overcomplicated system I've seen in a while. It was like a 2-hour tutorial. So, critical reflection. We're doing better than I thought we would, actually. This might not go to 15 minutes. I can slow down now, guys. Okay. So, key areas of self-development. Adding new and complex features, for example, weapon inventory, AI, EQS queries. There's stuff on the forum about that. It's basically, instead of enemies, when they see the player going straight to the shortest path, that tends to cause a lot of conga lining. What it will now do is when it sees a player, there will be a sort of ring in the nav mesh made around the player, and it will go to a random point on that instead. This also means it surrounds them. It's really cool. The weapon inventory, you can pick up weapons, you can swap them around, and you still have all the ammo retained because of that massive tutorial I followed. The game is complete, pretty much. All you'd need is a couple menus and like a title screen, and you could release it, pretty much. Maybe a couple more levels, but yeah. Production quality and consistency, I think it's really good. The lecturers have been saying it's really good. That's mostly why I think it's really good. Yeah, anyways, so cohesive visuals again. It looks cohesive. It's all the same style, you know, because again, own assets, done pretty short amount of time as well. So key areas of improvement, these are things I could have done better. The documentation could definitely be improved upon. I kind of forgot about the GDD halfway through because I was too busy making the game. I know I'm not meant to do that. But yeah, and again, I was too busy making the game. Some of the features, like the punchability, is a little bit buggy. It doesn't really work. I haven't got time to change it or fix it. So unoptimized, if I wanted to actually release the game, I definitely need to optimize the rendering, maybe bake the lights, other things. This might be a lot easier than I'm making it out to be. I haven't built a game before. Missing features. There was going to be like a thermite launcher. There was going to be a boss fight. There was going to be this. There was going to be that. I didn't have time, pretty much. Not enough corridor sections. If I was to make the level again, it would have more corridor sections, but because it would, you know, just gradually set up the stuff. But it is what it is. So what would I change? First person perspective or fix the camera bugs when in tight spaces. Again, I don't know how to do that, and it's a pretty big issue with third person games. The blocky style doesn't really work for the player head because it's quite meant to be like organic and squishy. So maybe going for a PS1 sort of Ultra Kill Quake style would be better. And replace the punchability because it's not working. So how does it compare to industry examples? Ultra Kill, Corsair, very similar in their level design. Lots of reuse assets. Lots of very simple pixel maps and stuff. And you can see Ultra Kill does it slightly differently. But I think it's pretty damn close. I'm going to be honest. Ultra Kill, this is one of the earlier levels, so they've evolved since. But you got to admit, it's pretty damn close. I'm happy with it, personally. And again, it's not that far off. I think it looks great. Final deliverables. So, these were the deliverables: an engaging and playable level lasting 2 to 5 minutes with interesting mechanics and appropriate affordances. And then a game's design document featuring planning of the level and mechanics diagrams, and the whole thing's got to be done. Consistent visual style, self-made assets. For the scoping, I kind of overscoped it. Again, I just really like doing the game, like making the thing. So, some of the things didn't work very well because I wanted to make too much at once, like the punchability. So the GDD was also forgotten about quite a lot. Also because a lot of the stuff I planned didn't really work out numbers-wise. Like, I'd have to do a lot of balancing. And for iterative development of, like, the level design, I'd make the levels as they were on the pixel map. I'd try them out. I'm going to be honest, they're not very good. So I'd just kind of fix it. I'll be like, this needs changing. This needs changing. I kind of did it a bit too much. Kind of got down the rabbit hole a bit. So there's not much for that. I think this is the last one. Evaluation. My documentation and planning, especially regarding the GDD, could have been better. Could have been more thorough. Pacing of the level could have also been improved. This is basically just stuff I've been saying. Pause the video if you want to watch it. But despite these shortcomings, I think it's really good. And I've done most of the stuff that I wanted to. So, Corsair's future. We got 45 seconds on this. I was going to post to Itch. I probably will post to Itch after the deadline as a personal endeavour. That's pretty much all I was going to say here. So, thank you very much for watching this. I'm trying to not fail this for being over the time limit. So, goodbye. Have a good one. Thank you.